Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week you're finally going to find out what colour I'm painting the Roxster. All right guys, welcome back, and those who have been following, and I know I've neglected this car and it's been sitting for a long time because I had all this interest and my interest has waned like it happens with a lot of car projects. This is the Roxster. This is my 1998 Porsche Boxster that I have done an Audi V8 swap in it. If you missed that series, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up, and like always, like and subscribe, and particularly comment. All that stuff really does help out that crazy algorithm. Last time I got rid of all of these horrible graphics that were down the sides of the Roxster and got it under some high fill primer, which it is now, and it's been sitting for a few weeks, letting that sort of sink back and do everything it's going to do. And I need to put some paint on it. So the first job today is my favorite, sanding. So I'm going to get out some guide coat and guide coat the whole car, and then we'll get in and start knocking it all back.
So the Roxster has been living outside under a not so watertight car cover for a while. So first off, I blew out all of the water that was trapped in places, and now I'm going over it with the guide coat, which I like the powder type guide coat. And then I move on to my favourite task, which is sanding. And sanding with the 400 grit on the DA makes reasonably light work of it. If I was doing a top quality paint job, I definitely, I'm not a big fan of the DA. It's sort of something you can put a rough pass on, but I prefer hand sanding for getting things nice and straight and neat. But this will do on this job because this is a track car. And here, of course, same thing on the other side. Trying to get into all of the curves is a bit of work, and just knocking the top down basically, and flattening in all of this high fill primer that I put all the way around the car. And now I'm switching to wet and dry, because there's lots of places where you can't really get in there with the DA. You need all of the details, all of the edges and all the other pieces. You need to be really careful with the edges because it's very easy to sand through, so you can sort of be a little bit more free and easy with the middle of panels, but keeping away from the edges until you just give them a light pass at the end. But here, again, all the little nooks and crannies, getting in there with the wet and dry so that I have a nice flat surface, hopefully, to put some paint onto.
I have gone over now and sanded back the entire car. It's, yeah, look, it's not the super straightest thing in the world. It's so much better than it was, but this is more than good enough for a track car. Now, I still have to do the front bumper. I'm going to take that off and do that separately. But I think now I need to wash the entire car and then move it into the booth so we can start getting it ready to paint.
So you can see all the sludge that's built up from the wet and dry sanding, and that's what I'm going through now and removing. Is just giving it a quick wash to start with, and then it's moving on to cleaning up the booth and changing over the filters, which have seen better days. So another piece of filter panel out and screw it in. I've covered the building of this spray booth in another video series if you want to go and have a look at that. So with the booth reasonably cleared out, I move the car in and then just do the last little bit of sanding on the front bumper, which I'm going to mount separately in the booth and not spray it on the car. Then again, going around and blowing out any of the water that's been left from the washing, making sure that it's not going to come back while you're mid-paint. Then I go over the entire car with an initial wax and grease remover, including inside all of the jams.
All right, just a quick tip on my favourite way to mask up wheels. Basically, I get a strip of paper. I've got the paper machine with the tape on the edge, which makes life so much easier. And the way I like to do it is to fold it in half fold it in half and tape the tape edges together. So now you have a pocket, and this pocket you sit nicely over the top of the wheel.
Then you tuck the top point up inside and then tape either side around to the back of the tyre. And then we move on and I continue around masking up the rest of the car. Now, this is a race car, so I am not removing the windows and going to town because I'm just not motivated to do that on this job. Ultimately, I think this attitude is what turns around and bites me in the butt.
Okay, so we are all masked up, ready to roll. I have everything set up here. I have the front bar set up at the back here and the side vents. Everything is all masked up. So now let's go over the whole thing and give it another prep sol and make sure the whole thing is super clean.
And of course, being clean and preparation is ultimately the name of the game when it comes to painting, and that will show moving forward. But I've cleaned again and again and again. You can't clean too many times when you're getting ready to paint.
All right, so I've got the color here, and like I mentioned last time, I've been backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. I loved all of your input on what color I should paint the Roxster. A lot of you loved the green. Lots of you had other suggestions for colors. I actually have the green and the black here, and it's been a tough decision to go what way do I paint it, because I really love the bright colors, as you know. But because this car was originally black, and that is just a more popular color in general. I know it's a track cars primarily, but I've decided it's going to go black. It needs to be just black the way it was. I think that's going to be much easier to move it on, and then somebody else can paint it, whatever. Because I'm not painting inside the door jambs and everywhere else, it's not worth going to town. So that is the color we're going. We are going with the original black. It's a solid black color, but in this case, I am still doing a base coat, clear coat system. You could do with a solid color. You can actually do a 2-pack solid black, so I could actually put the hardener in with the color, and that would be okay. You can do that with solid colors. You can't do it with metallics or pearls, but in this case, base coat, clear coat, it's what I'm used to, and it usually gets a bit of a better gloss and things like that. So let's get in there and start mixing up some paint and chuck some color on the Roxster.
So this is the original Porsche Boxster Black in the no mix, and you mix it 50-50 with no mix reducer, and I like to get the consistency thinned out so it's roughly the same consistency as milk. I find that's the best to spray.
All right, so I'm going to go over the entire car with a tack rag. Basically, this is a sticky cloth that can pick up any dust, because obviously dust is our enemy in painting. So let's give the whole thing a quick tack rag, and then we can wet the floor and see if we can get some paint on.
So now I'm going over the entire car with the tack rag just to pick up any last little bits of lint off of the car, and then I wet the floor. Now I really should have emptied out the booth and cleaned it all out properly, but again, race car and my motivation level was not the highest. And you can see I just pour the water around and sweep it out. And then I start putting on the black, and I'd like to give a light coat, a dust coat for my first coat, so that you get less in the way of reacting with anything that's on the surface. And once the first coat is on, then you can come back and do some heavier coats following it. And this is where I've had an issue with the paint not sticking, and it just looked like I hadn't covered the primer properly, but it wasn't fish eyes. It was like tiny little specks just looking like no coverage.
Got 3 coats of the black onto the car right now, so it's time to get some clear out. I'm using the Eurolac. It's a 2-to-1, so let's mix it up and get some clear on the thing and see what it looks like.
So using my graduated cups, it's relatively easy to mix it up to 2 to 1, and then I read the side of the tin just to confirm and realise that it's not actually supposed to be 2 to 1.
So just to note, that clear is 3 to 1, and I started mixing it and mixed 2 to 1 and then realised I had to calculate exactly more, so I've got way more clear than I need, but it's 3 to 1. I've never done that, so we'll give it 5-10 minutes or so to just start working, and then we'll go in and hit the car.
So I mentioned that I couldn't really get the coverage on the black, and I kept seeing it looking like thin coverage, and every time I just laid more on, it would not cover, and it was too far to turn back now. So I just went ahead and clear coated the entire car anyway. It's one of these things that, where do you go? Do you try and wipe everything off with thinners and start again, or do you just go ahead? In cases like this, I find it's often better to just clear coat it, let it dry and set up, and then you can always come back, sand it back again, and give it another hit. It's much easier doing that than it is trying to wipe off what you've already painted on. And here you can see I've gone through and I give it 3 good coats of the clear just to make sure I have a nice amount of build up so that it can be cut and buffed or whatever any future owner might want to do to it later on.
All right, so it's a couple of days later and we have a paint job. Now, I must say that this is probably a pretty terrible paint job. Now, black shows everything, but I had issues. I don't know how well the camera is picking this up, but the black was not sticking to the primer, and I actually kept getting these sort of, it looks like the paint's too thin, but I kept coming back and hitting it, and it kept sort of like moving away from it. So I just cleared it anyway because it's just not perfect. There's lots of grit in the paint that can be buffed out. You can also see along here, along this edge. I don't know if you can see it, but you can definitely see that this is sort of, it looks thin here and the paint hasn't got full coverage. I do have a few runs. There's a couple of runs here, and there's lots of just bits in the paint. It's not perfect, but overall, it still looks a lot better than it did. And of course, it is a race car. So it's not perfect, but it is a race car. So let's get it out in the sun and let's just see what it looks like.
So I start by unmasking and refitting the side vents, and you can see that my camera is starting to fog up again, and I actually have a solution that I've got for this now, which is a little heated wrap for the lens, which hopefully whenever this happens again I can use that to stop the fogging. But you can see here, just taking my time and unmasking, making sure to peel any masking away from the fresh paint, because it will still lift up relatively easily and you can very easily wreck your new paint job.
All right, so we have the Roxster out in the sun, and you can see there's you can see the train tracks here, the Tiger stripes in the paint. It really doesn't look that great. And yeah, look, from 10 feet, it looks good. You can also see it quite visibly here, that it really reacted badly to the base. I don't know exactly what happened there, but it doesn't look amazing. Standing back, looks much better. It definitely needs to be painted again, but it's so much better than it was. it's a long way from perfect, but in some ways it's a race car, and I think as it is, and as I've lost motivation for it, that may be how it gets sold. All right, well, that is it. I'm quite disappointed that the paint job came out that badly. Those tiger stripes and stuff are not something I've come across before. The paint really reacted with the primer level underneath. I don't know what was going on, whether I didn't prepare something properly. I did clean it and did do things, but it just didn't want to bond. So I messed up something there. In any case, it is what it is for now. It is a race car, and I may give it another quick hit. I'll see whether I can be motivated. At this stage, I'm thinking that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. Yeah, it's just so disappointing to put this much work in and it come out that badly. The runs and a little bit of dirt in the paint is not an issue. That's easy to touch up. But that tiger striping really means it needs to be painted again, which is really disappointing. So in any case, that's the Roxster. It's a race car. Let me know if you're enjoying this series, and yeah, unfortunately, I just have not got the motivation for it anymore, so it is going to move on. Hopefully you'll join me on my next project. I have a couple in the wing, so we've still a bit more to go on this, and we'll catch you on the next time. See you guys.